Get ready for the PATS Nation, the only real deal New England Patriots Post Game show. Sponsored by Corso Law Group. Allow us to be your voice. And Special Sauce Podcast. Startup finance and drive yourself to success. And now, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into the PATS Nation. Corso and Catone. This week 9 of the NFL season sees the Patriots squeak by the New York Jets 30-27. And I'm joined as always by Mark Catone and your calls 855-313-PATS, 855-313-7287. Call in. We want to hear your thoughts. Also, write in live chat on streaming right now live on YouTube. So chat in, message in, whatever means you need to get your thoughts across to us. And Mark, with my whole cynical self, I'm not sure whether or not I wanted them to win or lose this game, and I think there are a lot of people out there that keep wanting to think about the future and Trevor Lawrence and the possibility of the first pick in the draft and all this other stuff. So I don't know, Mark, when we want them to win, they lose. When we want them to lose, they win. I don't know. Should we be happy about this win tonight? What do you think?
Well, I'm with you. Once the middle of the third quarter hit, I was like, well, it's the Trevor Lawrence Bowl. Forget it. We don't want to win this game. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. The thing that I think is tough is, the teams. I mean, they're not a playoff team, right? So you're going to be stuck in no man's lane. You're going to be stuck with a draft pick in the first round that's going to be not high enough to get one of those top two quarterbacks, but it's also going to be somewhere probably. I bet you we end up somewhere between 8 and 12, maybe. So I don't know. We're in a precarious situation right now.
It's hard because you're looking at the scene, you're looking at the situation, and you want to think to yourself, is it because if Cam Newton and let's just start with the offense, okay? Because they won the game tonight, 30-27. Look, listen, I can't stomach losing to the Jets ever under any circumstances. I can't imagine any of you out there can stomach losing to the New York Jets, their most hated rival that we have, even though it hasn't really been a rivalry. It's just a team that we don't like. And Belichick doesn't like them. Nobody likes them. Let's face it. So I'm happy. You're happy, obviously, as a Patriots fan that you win the game. So you look at the offense. And the thing is, we go right to the quarterback, because it'd be one thing, I think, if we could say, look, Cam Newton, he's the future here. He's going to be 3-4 years with us now. It just still doesn't look right, does it? It doesn't look comfortable. It doesn't look right. Now, look, he's 27-35, 274, averaging 7.8, came up with some big throws when he needed to. And Myers had a huge game. But damn, man, he's throwing off his back foot at times. He's just that unorthodox way he has of throwing the ball. He doesn't really look that comfortable. And when he's getting that ball out, when it has to be a fastball, it just looks like he's throwing his whole shoulder it just doesn't look right. It looks very uncomfortable. I mean, I don't know, Mark, how do you think he looked tonight?
No, they won the game. You're right, Chris, but he's not comfortable back there. Nothing looks comfortable. Nothing looks fluid. At first, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, well, maybe it's just because the skill set of players around him are so bad that it makes him look bad. But you're right, Chris. He's throwing off his back foot. He's throwing to the wrong receivers. He's got guys wide open. He doesn't see them. He's not I'll say it. He's not what I thought we were getting. I was very, very hopeful when we signed him that we were going to get a guy that could put together an MVP type of a season. He's not that guy. And maybe that's a combination of what we have around him and him himself, but he's definitely not that guy, Chris. He's not. But you know what I'm wondering, Chris? What happened to that offense they put in for him the first couple of weeks? Where were the RPOs? Where were some of the schemes that they were running for him the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks when they were winning? Where did those plays go? They disappeared.
He rushed the ball 10 times for 16 yards.
But he rushed the ball tonight, Chris, more out of necessity because he was getting rushed. He was trying to get away from a sack. But it wasn't those designed RPOs that we had in place earlier in the season for him.
No. it just doesn't look. It looks like he's because they ran a few of them. They did it a couple of times when it was ugly. It was real ugly, real sloppy. And it just seems to me like over the last 3 weeks, ever since he got back, I would say since the Vegas game, okay, he looks unsure of himself back there, even when running the ball, and his get up and go isn't there. It's just not. I mean, he's over there trying to. He tucks the ball, and it's almost like that RPO. You know what? It isn't just the RPO. It's everything he's doing. He just seems to be taking a long time to do it. It's as if he's not sure what the hell he's reading, you know? So even when it's with the RPO game or it's in the passing game, everything's slow. Every his reads seem to be slow. So when he's reading that RPO situation, he's reading that end or whoever his key is, to either give the ball to White or Harris, whoever's in there running that, or keep it himself. It just seems like he's taking a hell of a long time to figure out what he wants to do. And then his get up is not there. He has no burst. He has no that first step of burst. And when he tried to do it, he slips and falls.
Chris, the whole offense is like in slow motion. They don't have any speed. Okay, Harris is different. He's in the running game. The running backs with that offensive line, obviously, I think is the highlight of this team, right? And that's the strength of this team is the power running game. But I think Harris has got a little bit of speed too. If he gets into the open field, he can give you a burst to get you 20, 30 yards, or maybe even take it to the house in certain situations. That's the strength of this team. But the rest of the team, Chris, they just seem slow. Like the rest of the offense, it's just a slow developing offense. It's like they're in quicksand.
Well, it starts with him again. Even in the huddle, he gets in that huddle. He's on that one knee. He's calling the plays. His cadence is slow. Down, set. I mean, it's like it takes forever to get going. And even his throwing motion's the same way. It's real deliberate. It's real slow. It's a wind up. And I don't know if that's a product of just who he is, because he's always been that way, or it's. And now he doesn't have the same athleticism that he used to have. So once he, because there are times when, what it does is it makes the offensive line look like they're not playing well, because it makes it appear that he has no time. He has no time to throw the ball, or he's dealing with a lot of pressure.
Well, I do think, Chris, that's a byproduct. I do have to say this. I'm going to give him this much. I do think that's a byproduct of our lack of receivers. I mean, we have nothing. I mean, look, Jacoby Myers had a decent night tonight. Don't get me wrong, but our receivers
had a decent night. He had 12 catches for 170 yards.
Listen, decent. What were you acting like he's all of a sudden he's Larry Fitzgerald for Christ's sake?
I'm not saying that, but he caught 12 friggin' balls off 14 targets for 170 yards. That's more than a decent night. I mean, Jesus Christ. But here's the thing, Mark, okay? Here's the problem, all right? Again, it's all about that. It all starts and stops with Newton because he's so deliberate, so slow in everything he's doing, okay? And listen, I'm not going to give him a pass with the receivers tonight, because there were plenty of times that there were guys wide open. There was one play, and I don't know if it was the third quarter or second quarter. You pointed it out. Izzo, for as much crap as we've given that guy, he ran a post or a corner route, okay? And he was wide open down that and on that corner behind the defense. The Jets.
The Jets.
We'll get to the Jets in a second.
Chris,
they stink.
Chris,
I mean, the Jets did exactly what the Jets do tonight, which
we'll
sit in a game, stay in a game, and then give it away.
So, Chris, how bad are we?
That's bad.
The Jets stink, and we were life and death to win that game. And I'm going to tell you something. If Joe Flacco doesn't throw that bad ball, which what he was looking at, I don't know. He just had his mind made up. He was throwing that route. If he just reads it correctly like he's supposed to, the tight end's wide open for like a 15-yard, 20-yard gain. That game's over. You don't win that game.
I agree. And you knew that Belichick talked to Jackson too, and basically said, "Look, you got to deep it out. You got to run out of that. You got to run out right to that post or right to that deep route, and stop sitting on it. Stop sitting and then getting beat, and he ran right to it. I mean, when I say run to it, meaning he went right from his back pedal, he turned and ran right with the route rather than sit and turn and go with it.
You know who looked off tonight?
And Flacco didn't realize that was happening. And he just heaved that thing up.
He just heaved it. You know who looked off tonight? And I don't know if it's a byproduct. Listen, he's had a tough month, right? With the death of the car accident.
James White,
his father died. But White just looked totally out of sync tonight.
And a lot of, and his footing too. A lot of guys had problems with their footing tonight. It seemed.
Yeah.
A lot of guys were over there slipping. Cam Newton was slipping. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, he hasn't looked sharp. He hasn't looked sharp at all.
And mentally, listen, I don't blame the guy. Right? Mentally, he's probably nowhere near back yet. Right after the trauma he went through. But tonight, it was really noticeable that he wasn't even. He had a tough game tonight.
Well, I don't know if that's a product of his getting up there now in his years, or the situation.
You're right. You hit that spot as a running back, right? And we've seen it with a lot of these guys that the third down backs for the Patriots. They hit a certain point and then they start that slide, right? So how much does
you see it with Falk, you see it with the guy who was the guy that ended up going to the Giants.
The kid Lewis,
but the guy in between,
the other kid,
Shane Vereen had that happen to him too.
Well, I think you got White's replacement in that kid Taylor. I think that rookie they drafted, that undrafted rookie from Arizona, I think he showed some real spark at the beginning of the season.
Well, if they can get him on the field.
I know we got so many running backs, so we're not using him right now, but he looks like he's going to be that James White type of a guy when James White's ready to move on, right?
Well, yeah, I think, but again, yeah, you're right. White, that White always had that ability to catch that swing pass, or catch that little bubble and make that first guy miss.
Yeah.
He'd get his knees up higher and make that guy miss. He hasn't been able to do that in a few weeks now. No. Where he's getting tackled out with that 3. It's still a 3 or 4 yard gain, but those used to be 10, 12, 14 yard gains because he would break away. But again, Mark, with Newton, like I said, he seemed to have better command. I'll give him some things tonight. He had some better command of the offense. It didn't look like McDaniel was putting him in too difficult of a position. I will say he's still staring down his first read. He's still looking down who he's going to throw to, and that's who he's delivering the ball to. I saw him come across the formation a couple of times, but he's not comfortable doing it when he does it. And usually Myers was his first read.
Chris, the thing that gets me, and maybe it's because he missed a couple of weeks and he missed because of the COVID situation, they missed 3 weeks of practice, but it seems like the offense, they've simplified it even more for Newton from the beginning of the year. It's almost
like half the field.
Yeah. But I don't even think it was like that the first 3 or 4 weeks, Chris.
No.
It's almost like after this COVID incident, they downgraded and simplified it even more for him, which I can't believe that you would have to do that for a guy with he's a veteran. You're downsizing that much for him? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Former MVP. He's not reading the whole field.
No.
He's not reading the whole field. It's half the field. It's what you do. Yeah. It's what you do for guys in high school. It's what you do for guys.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand what's going on.
You give him half the reads,
So Chris, that
with that, Mark, even with that, he's still staring down his receiver, even reading half the field. Or look, I mean, it appears to us, I mean, we're coming on right after. I have not had time to break down the film, and we will, but it just appears that you're absolutely dead on, is that he's reading half of the field. And even then he's still staring down guys. He's still staring down Myers or Bird. I mean, those are really the two guys that he seemed to want to go to tonight, because he was missing Izzo. Izzo was open in different spots.
Izzo was open. I don't know what that's about, Chris. He's not looking at the tight end, which surprises me, because Olsen was always his security blanket in Carolina. The tight end was his security blanket over there. He constantly went to him. So it's kind of weird that he doesn't look to the tight end. I don't know.
But he gets, but he gets the win. He brings him down the field.
Chris, who I
his think second half was better than his first half.
Who's another wasted roster spot, Chris? Gunner.
Mark, it just simply goes back to you every position, every receive, every skills position you have at the receiver spot are guys that they haven't been drafted.
Yeah. No, you're right. We talked about that last week. You don't have every receiver is undrafted.
Everyone.
Yeah. That's
Bird,
Chris, I went through every NFL roster. We're the only team with that, and they held whole league. No other team has an entire receiving roster where a guy wasn't drafted in the draft.
Think about this for a second, okay? Newton threw the ball 35 times. He completed 27, okay?
Yeah.
But out of the 35 attempts, he threw the ball. I told you, who are the two guys? Myers and Bird.
Yep.
Myers got 14, Bird got 9. Then you have White, Burkhead, Johnson. Okay, and Gunner got one attempt for negative. It was I think it was one of those bubble screens, and he got -1 yard on it.
That's amazing.
Think about that for a minute. What other team you see out there that throws to the receivers less than this team does? It's again, and coming up later in the show, Mark's going to break down the draft. We've been bitching about the draft for weeks now about what they haven't done, and going to talk about what Belichick had said, and when he does, it's going to surprise the hell out of you, because again, we don't throw to the damn receivers, Mark. Myers, Bird, and then it just go to the backs. That's it. So, and even Izzo, I don't think Izzo got an attempt tonight.
No, I don't think he threw the ball to him.
He didn't. He didn't get an attempt.
No.
So again, out of the 34 attempts, almost half of that goes to, or a little less than half of that goes to Myers. And listen, he came up tonight. Myers made some good plays. He had a couple of bonehead plays out there, a couple of penalties he shouldn't have. A procedure penalty and a holding penalty and things like that. But when he needed a play, Myers was there. And I think you're right. You said it through that game, and you said it throughout the game. You said, look, I think this is probably one of the only guys they probably want to keep around.
Yeah.
It'll be Myers.
Even if you bring in receivers next year during the offseason, if you dip into free agency, there's some good ones in free agency. You got money to spend. I think Myers could be a 4 receiver, 3-4 receiver for you, right? Maybe even a 4, but that's okay. I think he could be productive in that. We always had a good 3-4 receiver, even a 4 that Brady would look to and get him in a key situation, and he had confidence. Myers, I think, can absolutely be that type of a guy for you, but you need some studs at the 1 and 2 receiver position.
Well, it's just the numbers are there. The numbers show it. I mean, it's.
And don't forget, you got the
again. Look at the attempts.
And don't forget, we got the All Pro on the bench. I know he's hurt, Harry.
Yeah, well, I don't think Harry's going to see the field again. I think he'll be probably in that concussion protocol for the rest of the season. I mean, I think we've seen enough of that, but who knows? I mean, who knows? All I can tell you is because again, when he was playing, I don't know what the hell he gave you. He didn't do really anything well.
No, he didn't.
So I'm not really sure what he's bringing you, but again, played pretty well. He had, I say played pretty well. I mean, he was almost 50. He was 50%. I mean, he got 9 targets. He caught 5 balls for 65 yards. Now, some of that stuff, the long was 31 to him. Now, some of that stuff was based on, just some poor throws. I think one of them he ended up playing the defender on. It was a long ball. It was pretty much one of the only shots they took down the sideline. And Bird, he couldn't get by the defensive back, and he ended up breaking it up. That was one of them. That was one of the misses.
Chris, I thought Bird was going to be one of these real good slot guys, but he that's not what he does. He just runs down the field.
Well, he's a speed guy, but he's a speed guy with very little move off the line of scrimmage. I mean, he's not a guy like, you look at a guy like Devontae Adams, okay, for Green Bay. That's a guy that has move, that gives you a move at the line of scrimmage, that leaves you standing there, that leaves you leaning, and then he uses his speed and he gets open. Bird's got the speed, but he doesn't have that ability he doesn't have that move at the line of scrimmage, either a hop step or something to get into his 9 route or something like that, where he can get himself open that way.
No, you're right.
He uses speed.
He doesn't have anything. You're right.
And then, and at the times that he is behind the defense, Newton's missing him. So, look, like I said, Newton's numbers they're not terrible. I mean, let's just say this. He didn't make the mistake. He didn't do that. Yep. He didn't throw the ball to the other team, which, he's been doing that.
So offensively, Chris, we could say that they played.
He still doesn't look comfortable though.
Offensively, I think they played. He didn't look comfortable, but I think offensively, I think it's fair to say they played a conservative game. They protected the ball. And they did just enough at the end of the game to win the game. They didn't do anything spectacular. They just played conservative football and hoped at the end you had a chance to win. I guess you could call it typical old school Belichick, right?
Yeah.
And because the Jets are so bad,
They are a bad football team.
At the end, you had a chance to steal the game, and that's what we did.
They do just what the Jets do.
Yep.
The bright spot for this team, and I hope he's okay. It looked like he may have some. It looked like it was some sort of rib problem.
He walked off the field, Chris, pointing to his ribs to the guys he was walking off the field with.
Yeah, so he had 14 carries for 71 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. His long was 21. Again, we said it last week about Harris. I think he's a bright spot. I think he's a good back going forward. He's the kind of guy that the more you give him, he gets stronger and stronger as the game progresses.
Chris, if you had a real offense with receivers and tight ends, that's a kid. He's going to get you 1,200 yards. He'll get you 12 touchdowns. He's that type of a back in a good offense, right? Yeah. We don't have a good offense, but I think going forward, if you could straighten this offense out, he could be a kid that'll be really productive for you as a running back. I mean, obviously he's better than Sonny Michel, without question, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we got to get the break, but listen, so offensively, again, to sum it up, yeah, I think, they just scored 30 points today. Okay. Like I said, it's a bad football team they're playing, but Mark, they're not a good football team to begin with. So yeah, they're playing a bad football team, but they put 30 points. They put 30 points up on the board. I thought the offensive line played well. I could maintain that that's a strength of this team, and it's going to be a strength of this team moving forward. If they can keep that group together, there's a mixture of young guys. Win one out of this game. As usual, win one out of this game.
He came back though, I thought, in the second half.
Yeah, he did. So the offensive line played well. I think, again, offensively, they did what they needed to do. They put 30 points on the board. It wasn't always pretty at times, and it isn't going to be that. But moving forward, I think that I'm not sure Cam Newton's the answer moving forward. 855-313-PATS. We want to get to your calls, your messages, your chats. Coming back on the other side, we'll get into some of this defense. More Pats Nation after this.
It's the Special Sauce Podcast. You like the sauce? The sauce is good, man.
Easy startup, finance, train them, trust them, and let them lead.
With your host,
Marcus Aurelius here with Special Sauce Podcast. Tune into our next episode where a former guest and our most downloaded guest, Dave Bannister of marketanalysts.com, is going to do our special election feature. He's going to cover the stock market for you. Looking forward to having you on.
It's going to be an interesting time for us to discuss the markets with all the things going on and the uncertainty, but I might have some key takeaways for everyone to tune in on.
Hopefully it's not like zombie apocalypse and Russians marching in the square. Anyways, you know where to tune in. It's specialsaucepodcast.com or wherever your podcasts are downloaded. Thanks again, folks. Tune in.
Back in with Pats Nation with Corso and Catone. Thanks to Special Sauce Podcast, our sponsor there. Make sure you log on. Those guys are pretty bright guys, Mark. Some of these players are going to need some of that guidance, I think, looking at the way this team plays sometimes. And on the defensive side of the ball, Mark, look, on the other side of that break, the front side of that, we talked about the offense. And look, they did what they needed to do, 30-27. They get the win. Defensively, Mark, it's just more of the same to me. It starts at the front with the front seven, which is pretty much non-existent, okay, allowing, just too many yards running the ball. Look, they allowed, 18 rushes for 65 yards. And you look at those numbers and you say, that's not that big of a deal. I mean, 65 yards, that's not so bad, is it? But it's just the way – it's the way they look. Now, look, like I said, the Jets stink, in my opinion. They stink. They're running Frank Gore, who's 165 years old, okay? And he's still playing out there. And then after that, I don't even know who they have, this Perrine, or whatever his name is over there. But it's just sloppy. The personnel is just weak. It's weak against the run. Now you were missing Guy tonight. All right, which, he's their best defensive lineman, although he hasn't been that great. in the past few games. And again, you have your defensive back. You have Phillips coming down and playing linebacker, and they're not even hiding it anymore. Okay. First of all, Bentley's out tonight, which again, we've been on Bentley for a few weeks now. Okay. For getting blocked in his gaps, getting blocked, just getting folded out and not being able to get in the gaps. And so now you bring this guy Hall in. Okay. Who he got most of the plays, and I know it's driving you crazy because some of the guys we wanted to see tonight, Uche and company, we don't see, but we see this guy, Therese Hall, out there, who made one solo tackle, was in on 6. And Phillips, again, he's your leading tackler tonight. So it isn't McCourty tonight. Now it's Phillips.
Why in a game like this tonight? I don't understand why Uche isn't on the field. Let the kid Jennings play as many snaps as he can possibly play from Alabama, the rookie. I know he was in on some plays. He was on the field for some snaps, but let him play as much as possible. Let Uche play. Let Winovich play. I mean, what the heck's the point? What you got guys out there. Phillips. If you're going to use a safety, and you brought this up during the game, Chris, if you're going to use a safety in that position, why aren't you using Duggar, who's bigger, more physical, and more athletic? Why is it Phillips? I don't understand that. You brought it up during the game.
I mean, look, Phillips weighs 210 pounds. Okay. He weighs 210 pounds. And these other guys that you're talking about, as opposed to Duggar, okay, who's coming in and around, he's about 10, 15 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
They list Duggar at 220, but I think he weighs more than that. And so, but aside of that point, you make a great point about Jennings. I mean, Jennings is 260 pounds. He's a 260-pound linebacker that can run. No, okay, I get it. He's not a middle linebacker. I understand that. He's not an inside linebacker, but neither is Phillips.
He's got to give.
Neither is Adrian Phillips.
I was just going to say, Chris, you mean to tell me he can't give you more than Phillips in that position? Come on. That poor guy's earning his money, man. I mean, you're bringing him down and you're not even hiding it. You're pulling this guy down as your second inside linebacker, and he's just getting thrown around like a rag doll at the line of scrimmage. I mean, you got offensive guards, tackles, just throwing him around, in the running game. And anytime they wanted to look, I say credit the Jets' offensive play calling in the sense of it's so bad. I mean, at the beginning of this game, Mark, do you realize
they ran off the left side at any time they wanted to, and then stopped doing it.
They stopped doing it because the tackle got hurt. The big tackle went out. Remember?
But they were still moving the ball there, and they wouldn't even attempt it. We have no edge. The Patriots weren't setting an edge. They haven't set an edge in 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Right.
Well, that's why.
And anytime they wanted to go that way, they could.
That's why they're the New York Jets, and that's why Gaze is atrocious. How he's got a job. He must have pitches on somebody over there, because I don't know how he's still got a job. That guy, he is horrendous. And then you got to.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, he gave up the play calling to
Chris, listen. On top of everything else tonight, you played against Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
He's like Weekend at Bernie's. They prop him up in the chair. They move his arm back and forth, and he throws the ball. He's 100. He's had every injury there is possible that a quarterback can have, and he probably should. He had a good shot of beating you tonight. So your defense was putrid tonight. Putrid, absolutely putrid. I don't care what the score says. If they were playing against a decent team, Chris, they would have gave up 40 points tonight. That defense.
He's 35 years old.
Next week. They got a lot of trouble next week. A lot of trouble next week.
And for this 35-year-old, he went 18 to 25, 261 pick, and the one pick is the reason I think you could look squarely to that if you're a New York Jets personnel, whoever you are.
That cost you the football game.
I think it did, because the Patriots at that point had demonstrated no ability to stop them. They were allowing them to go on 6, 7, 8-minute drives, and just long extent. And this has been their problem all year long, Mark. these long extended drives,
So, Chris,
and maybe some of them result in field goals and some of them touchdowns. Tonight there was some touchdowns. He
Chris,
threw 3 touchdowns tonight.
can I ask you a question? Does the kid was he active tonight? Does the kid Joanne Williams play? A second round pick, by the way.
Let me see where he fit in the mix tonight. Yeah, he was out there. I mean, he had 1 tackle.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he played, but
He is a second round draft pick, right? Yeah.
He John Williams.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, second round. He was picked. He was the 45th pick.
Yeah, I'm just checking.
Okay, and again, Mark, listen, and that's just you keep penciling into your draft segment, because we just keep talking about this over and over and over again. So again, yeah, the front 7 once again, while the numbers don't look as bad, 65 yards, it's still not good. They're still not setting an edge. When teams want to, they can run the ball against New England at will. They don't have linebackers to speak of, inside linebackers. The outside linebackers that they have, and this is one of the things, and we'll get to the secondary in a second, okay? Because, I don't care that Jackson got that pick. He was awful tonight. He was terrible, J.C. Jackson. Okay,
well, he's supposed to be
against
Gilmore's.
Perryman.
He's going to be the replacement for Gilmore.
Well,
Gilmore walks away, right, from the contract.
He was bad tonight, slipping and falling. He wasn't good. He couldn't keep his footing. He was getting beat. He was staring in at the quarterback, getting beat on double moves. And then let's talk about it. Then he was terrible. He got beat on double. He got beat on a double move to Perryman, who got that. I think it was Perryman who got the touchdown.
Perryman got the touchdown. Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but on that play, Devin McCourty, okay, who's supposed to be coming over the top on that, he bit on the double move too. He came running down. It looked like he was running sideways.
Chris McCourty,
and the guy went right by.
Chris McCourty has had
both of them.
Chris McCourty has had a bad year. McCourty's been caught late. Almost every game, there's a play or two where it's glaring that McCourty's he misread something. He's looking in the backfield. He's doing. McCourty's had a bad year.
Neither McCourty played well tonight.
No.
Neither one of them.
No, the other McCourty,
okay?
I think.
Neither one played well.
Chris is washed up. He looks old out there right now. He looks.
Jason McCourty got beat by. What's his name there? Crowder. That play Crowder made it as soon as they caught it. Said it wasn't a touchdown. I said, Mark, this is a touchdown. Yeah. When he got both feet in before the half, I told you what was going to happen before the half. What did I tell you before we were in the first quarter? I said this is going to go to half 20-7. This is going to go to half 20-7. It went to half 20-10 because they gave him the ball back with a minute left, and I had no you have no confidence in this defense. They can get anybody off the field.
Chris, in the first half too, when the Jets got the field goal, that first possession of the game, that was a PI that Jackson got away with. You want to talk about Jackson? That was a PI in the end zone. He gets away with it.
Yeah,
the Jets
PI.
The Jets would have got the ball.
Should have been first and goal at the 1.
First and goal at the 1. So we got a couple of plays. The defense really did play bad, Chris. They played bad. Again, they played bad.
Yeah, it should have been 31-31.
Should have been
31-30.
Could have been very easy.
I mean, that's a 4-point. That's a 4-point play.
Yep, could have very easily been 31.
Listen, if they get the ball first and goal, they get the ball first and goal there. If J.C. Jackson gets that PI call, it should have been called. They get the ball first and goal. Do you have any faith in this defense to be able to stop anybody from at the goal line on the 1 yard line going in?
No, not with our defense. No, our defensive line is awful. It's not happening. Not happening.
No.
Listen, I'm going to say it again, Chris. This is going to be my theme every week. I'm going to say it again. I'll take Roberts back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Miami's looking pretty damn good right now. And that defense is playing really well. They look pretty good against Arizona yesterday.
My son, listen, last week my son was listening. My son was listening to the podcast last week. My son was listening to us, and he said, "You lost your mind." I said, "Why?" He said, "You want Roberts back." I said, "Yeah, I want Roberts back."
Yeah. Well, look, Mark, they have no presence at linebacker, so they have no ability to stop the run. And here's one thing that I wanted to ask you about, and I want you people to chime in on this too, if anyone's still awake right now, up and out there. I know it's late on the East Coast. What time is it over there, Mark, right now?
East Coast time, it's 20
midnight.
past 12. It's 20 past 12, East Coast.
20 past 12. So Mark, we talked at the beginning of this game, and this goes directly to the defense too, is, tanking for Trevor, trying to get that first pick, trying to get this kid Lawrence in because again, I'm unsure as to what direction this team's going at the quarterback position. I just don't know. And the way Belichick was talking was as if he was mailing in the season. And we're going to go to break in a couple of minutes and coming on the other side, we're going to get into this. But he's talking about basically the way he was talking to Weiss, Charlie Weiss, was as if the season's done. We don't really have much. And I don't know if that the team has too much confidence after hearing something like that. You could see it in the defense, at least from the defensive side of the ball and the veterans, that these guys were flat. They didn't look like they came to play again this week. Like you say, can't get anybody off the field. But I look at the personnel decisions, okay, and when I see Winovich, who's primarily a good pass rusher, okay, when I see him come on the field and he's out there, on first and second down, and then you bring him off. You bring him off on a pass rush situation. Jennings was out there in spots that I didn't think he would normally be, in certain situations that he could be out there, but wasn't. Too many defensive backs at given times. And I wondered to myself, is that his way? Is that Belichick's way of tanking? Is that his way of trying to lose these games? Is put personnel up there that just doesn't fit the situation. And it's weird to say because it's just not Belichick's MO. And I can't imagine he would want to lose of all teams to the New York Jets. I mean, look, they won the game. So clearly, if you want to do something to lose the game, he could have done more, I guess. But it just seems odd to me, his choice of personnel packages that he's putting out there in certain situations for a guy that's a situational football guy.
Yeah. And the other, you're right, Chris. A guy that's a situational football guy, a guy that's made he's supposedly that's his thing, right? He's the guru of situational football in the NFL. And you're right. Some of the decisions he's made this year, it's almost like Gary's doing it to tank, because I'm going to be honest with you. Why wouldn't you give Winovich and Jennings and Uche, especially now, a chance to develop? Put them in as many situations as you possibly can to see what you have going forward. Even if you're looking towards next year, based on Belichick's comment to Charlie Weiss, you don't have what it takes this year to necessarily be a playoff team or a Super Bowl contender. But how do you know what you have in these young guys if you don't situationally put them in positions to see what they can do? It's almost like you're holding us back an extra year. I don't know. You're right, Chris. You're 100% right with that take there. And I don't know what we're thinking, and I don't know what we're doing. But the fact that you got Phillips playing linebacker, Chris, you're right. You mean to tell me Jennings can't go in there and play that position? That's ridiculous. That's utterly ridiculous.
Well, Mark, look, I'm looking while you're talking like that. I'm looking at, now we talked about Jennings. Okay, what's he, 260? Okay,
yeah.
Well, he's about. Am I missing the boat on that? Is he 260?
No, he's about 260. I think he is 260.
Because what I don't understand is you go with Hall tonight, Therese Hall. Okay, who where did they bring him in off the? Was he coming? He graduate him up from the practice squad? Or
they might have. He might have. Was he an undrafted free agent linebacker? He came off the practice squad, I think.
Well, the question I have is this: you draft Jennings, okay? In what, the
third? Wasn't he a third round pick?
Third round. Yeah, he was the 87th pick. So you draft him in the third round. Okay, 6'3", 259 out of Bama. Okay, so he knows. This is a football player. You're playing at Alabama. You're a football player. You probably should be playing on Sunday. So the question I have is, you bring in Therese Hall, okay, who's 6'2", 235. All right, he's a rookie. So undrafted. This is his first season. So you got two rookies. One's drafted in the third round, and the other one's the 87th, the other 87th pick. The other guy isn't drafted. You got 30 pounds on the guy. So you're worried about stopping the run. I would imagine that Jennings has more speed and probably better instincts. Why isn't he playing in that spot? Why isn't he there?
I don't know.
See, well, that's not his game. He doesn't stop the run. Well, I mean, he's, this guy's 6'2",
He's got to
235
stop.
Perez Hall.
Chris, he's got to stop the run better than Phillips. At least, okay, you want to use Hall? Okay, okay, you want to use Hall. Sometimes Chris Belichick falls in love with these undrafted free agent guys, right? So maybe there's something about this guy Hall he likes. I get that. But there's still no excuse for playing Phillips over Jennings. There's no that's unexplainable, Chris.
And again, like I said, I mean, I understand these guys are probably they're both undersized maybe for playing inside. And I get that.
But they're not more undersized than Phillips.
No, I mean, no, there's no question in my mind. I mean, why you have a dime package out there, nickel and dime package, and you're not really even using it as a dime. You just kind of, when we say dime package, we have more than 5, 6 defensive backs on the field.
Chris, the amount of receivers the Jets had on the field, there were situations where you're right. It wasn't, the
didn't call for it.
Didn't call for it. But yet Phillips was there.
So you're strictly using him as an inside linebacker. Yes. When you went five down, all right, 5 down linemen, 5 across the line of scrimmage, and then two linebackers. One happens to be a defensive back, and the other one happens to be an undrafted rookie who is 30 pounds lighter than the guy you draft with the 87th pick in the 3rd round from Alabama. Okay. I gotta believe that guy can play, is more of a football player. Why the hell isn't he on the field, Mark? It doesn't make sense to me.
And I don't understand, Chris, what he's doing with this kid. This kid, Uche, they said was the steal of the draft. I remember draft night. Everybody was saying, he's athletically, he's a freak. He's a steal of the draft. Why isn't, what are you doing with them?
I saw him on the field one time. He got doubled. He looked like he got blocked, and that was it. He didn't make the stat. He hasn't made the stat sheet. I don't know. And all I could tell you is going into then and taking it the next step into the secondary, they're not playing well. They're just not playing well as a whole. And they seem to be down. They seem to be dejected. And we're going to talk coming out of the break, and we're going to get the break now about Brady Belichick. We're going to talk about your draft. And the question I have for you out there, and the question I have for you, Mark, when we come back is, has Bill Belichick lost this team? More Pats Nation.
It's that time again for a timeout from Pats Nation for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket, or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group. Now back to Pats Nation.
Back in the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone and Mark. We were talking about the question I posed to you and I posed to everybody out there. Has Bill Belichick lost this team? Has he lost this team? And before we get to that, let's do our Belichick Brady segment. Let's get to that. And that's sponsored by Studio 42 Graphic Design in North Providence, Rhode Island. Studio 42 Graphic Design. Check in with them. Good people over there. They do great work, good design, good logos. And many, many more things. Mark, again, even with the win tonight,
no,
I don't know. I mean,
as bad as Brady looked yesterday, I still think it's Brady. Listen, they're 6-3, Chris. So right? What are they, 6-3, Tampa? So
yeah.
You got to give it to him. I mean, as bad as he looked yesterday in the Tampa Bay look, I think it's right now it's Brady. Yeah,
it is. It is Brady right now. But man, I'll tell you what. Something's going on there. Something's going on down there. I mean, watching that game last night, those first three possessions, those 3 and out for 3 and outs in a row.
Well, Chris, I'm going
to be honest, he looked.
What happened yesterday was they got firmly outcoached. Whatever game plan Arians had was not was terrible. He couldn't adjust, couldn't adjust on the fly, couldn't make changes, couldn't do, and Brady had that look about him, Chris, that we've seen here many times when he's just looks like he's in a funk, and it's McDaniels or it's Belichick gets him out of that funk because they do something. It's a trick play. It's something that gets the team some energy and some life into the team. And then all of a sudden, Brady catches fire and they pull a game out at the end. There's nobody on that coaching staff that is able to do that for Brady. He's on his own. And that was clearly evident yesterday.
We talked about that. We talked about that in the offseason. What's going to happen? And this was the game we pointed to. We pointed to the New Orleans game, both New Orleans games, one of them. We said, what's going to happen during the season when the push comes to shove, guys are looking to other guys to get things done. Things aren't going really well. Normally, you'd be sitting on the sideline with McDaniel, as you said. Belichick the camera would go to him. He'd figure it out. They'd figure out a way, to coaching staff, and it wouldn't fall on Brady. Well, Tommy boy, it's all on you now because you're the offense. And I honestly think something's going on down there between Arians. I heard today that there maybe if there's a power play going on, perhaps with the offense, and they want to run parallel offenses, the two of them. And, they're trying to figure that out as far as how they're going to, what type of offense they're going to run. And you see what happens.
You can't figure that out week 9. What are you kidding me?
Yeah. When Brady gets in trouble, where does he go? Where does he go with the ball when he gets in trouble? Automatically, where does he go to the ball?
He's looking for Gronk.
Yeah. It's a problem with Gronk is what you talked about weekend at Bernie's. That's what's going on with Gronk. He's not Gronk anymore.
All Gronk can give you is Gronk can still give you red zone. He's still got the body, Chris. He can still body himself up. If you throw the ball up there, he can come down and get it. And the last 2 or 3 weeks, he did that for them. And everybody was like, oh, Gronk's back. Gronk's not back. Gronk catches one specific ball in the end zone that he can still catch. That's really all he can still do is get the ball in the end zone inside the 10-yard line. But
you said it yesterday. Normally, he would have run under that ball where Brady overthrew him.
Yep, that would have been a touchdown. 5 years ago, that's a touchdown.
And Mark, let me tell you this too. That other nut job down there, Antonio Brown. Okay.
Yeah.
You're down 31 points, and you make a catch and get up and celebrate. That's a bad look.
Yeah, it's a bad look.
There's guys on that team that I guarantee you are not pleased that guy's in the locker room right now. And and the one guy that I've been saying all season long, and I said it in the offseason, that it's not going to like this whole routine with Brady because it's Brady's ship. And by the way, let me just say something about Tom Brady, who, we owe everything to. And it's starting to look like here, okay, that it was more Brady. I mean, he's winning this battle right now. It was more Brady than Belichick. I mean, just look at the stats. Look at what's going on with our offense. Look at what's going on with theirs. Look at what Brady's doing. But here's the thing. Tom Brady is not the same Tom Brady that just as I don't know him as a person. Okay. So I'm not going to pretend I do, but just by the way he's behaving and how he acts and in the public persona that we see. Okay. This is not the same Tom Brady from 2000 to 2010, 12. This is not the same guy. This guy looks like a selfish guy who, and I don't care. Look, this guy cares nothing for the Tampa Bay franchise. He could care less what happens to that team when he's gone because the moves he's making, and yes, I say he's making because he's the guy that's bringing Gronk in for $9 million. He's the guy who's bringing Antonio Brown in that irritates a guy like Mike Evans, who's your staple. He's your guy. Mike Evans is your guy. Mike Evans must be standing there saying, what the hell do we need this guy for? Why are you bringing Antonio Brown in this room right now? Throw me the ball.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's got to catch the ball here, not this guy.
But Chris, yesterday, Arians made a point to say in his press conference that Mike Evans was open on several plays.
Right.
Brady didn't have the time to get on the ball.
Well, you know what?
Brady didn't have the time to get on the ball, he said.
Hey, listen, the hell with Arians saying that stuff because this is supposed to be your team. You're the head coach of this team. Stop talking. He keeps talking like he's up in the stands watching the game. You know what I mean? Like he's got nothing to do with it. Hey, Tom had time. Tom could have thrown him the ball. He's thrown him under the bus a couple of times this season. Like you got nothing to do with it. So if you're turning it all over to Brady, which it appears you have, then you can't turn around later on and just be like, what's going to end up happening is this team's not going to win the division. They're going to get bounced in the playoffs, and Arians is going to get fired. Brady's going to have gotten him fired down there, okay? And he's going to take – this franchise is going to go in the toilet as soon as Brady walks out the door. They're going to go right in the toilet because see Mike Evans, he's going to want out. He's going to want out of there, and they're going to be left with a shell of a team. So again, I get Brady's winning this battle right now, but turning to Belichick now, okay? And it brings us to the point you wanted to make with the draft. And we want to get into what he had to say again, because we talked about this last week, what he told. So tell the people, what did he have to say to Weiss last week? Let's get into why it is Brady's winning this battle right now.
Well, because the comment he makes last week, Chris, was absolutely ridiculous. When he basically said I'll give you his exact quote. He says last week, he said, let's see.
And while Mark's looking at that, and Megan writes into us, and our little friend Olivia, our little 3-year-old friend Olivia says, "Go Pats." I think it's past her bedtime, so we want to mention, say hi to Olivia.
Hi,
get
Olivia.
to bed.
Chris, he says,
and she says, "Well, wait." Megan probably types in, "Why do you think they're doing so bad? Did Brady really carry the team all those years?" Is what she types in, and we appreciate the chat, the message you send in. So, Mark, get into it. Was it Brady? What's Belichick saying? What are we doing?
So Brady, we're going to get into whether we think it was Brady in a minute. But so to go back, you brought this up last week, Chris. He tells Charlie Weiss, "Look, we paid Cam Newton $1 million. I mean, it's obvious we didn't have any more money. It's nobody's fault," Belichick said Monday on his weekly WEI radio spot. "That's what we did. The last 6 years, we sold out and won 3 Super Bowls, played in a 4th, and played in an AFC championship game. This year, we had less to work with. It's not an excuse. It's just a fact. This year, we got less to work with." You're making those comments in front of your players?
Right. So has he lost the team then? You lose a team saying that kind of stuff. Or because you're Belichick, can you get away with that? What do you think?
Listen, I think defensively, Chris, you're right. They don't look right out there. It looks like he did lose them. Listen, the only reason he hasn't lost Cam Newton after making a comment like that is because Cam Newton's playing for a contract next year from somebody, not necessarily New England.
Yeah, he's playing for his life.
He's playing for his life. So no, Cam Newton don't care what he says about the team. Cam Newton's playing for his life. But the rest of the guys, I definitely think the rest of the guys heard that comment and said, "Well, shit, what are we going to do?" Obviously, he doesn't think he has no faith in us being a playoff team.
Yeah.
That's so non-Belichickian. I don't even understand how he would. I don't know what he was thinking, Chris.
Which is why it's so shocking. It's so shocking to hear him say, because he never says anything to anybody. No. Now all of a sudden he comes on. That's what he says. Yeah. You could see how a guy like Jason McCourty, who basically said, look, and this goes back to the opt-outs, because listen, if you're Devin McCourty, okay, what do you have to play for anymore? What are you playing for? You've won 3 Super Bowls, whatever he's won with them. 3 Super Bowls, gone to 4 of them, going to 6 of them, whatever he's done. Okay.
Chris McCourty,
he chose to come back and play.
And he got overpaid. Way overpaid.
Well, he did, but he chose to come back and not opt out. He could have still got overpaid and opted out with the rest of the guys.
No, he did.
And now you hear your coach say something like that, which is basically saying we're pretty much, this season is, this season's pretty much done. I mean, is that how they're taking it? And because their body language sure shows that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. No, it does. It definitely does. So Chris, getting back to where we started this segment with this personnel issues. So Belichick in that comment doesn't mention anything about maybe if I drafted better.
Yeah.
He puts the blame on we sold out. He puts the blame on the salary cap. Do you realize they have not drafted a player in the draft who's become an all-pro since Jamie Collins?
2013.
Jamie Collins was the last guy they drafted, Chris.
That was a Pro Bowler.
That was a Pro Bowler. So what does that tell you?
It tells you they're bad at it. You're bad at it. That's what it tells me. It tells me that you're bad at it. Now, listen, and you'll get the people, Mark, on the other end of that. That'll tell you, whoa, wait a minute. Now, they're always drafting 28, 29, 30, 31, 32,
They are.
Yeah.
But
how many Pro Bowlers are in the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, So go ahead, Mark.
By the way, Antonio Brown was a 4th round draft pick.
I know. I know.
He ended up being the best receiver in football. So I don't want to hear that. Why was Kareem? Why the little guy that you loved, the little guy Hill
Hill, I
from
can't stand him.
from
He's a
Kansas
criminal.
City. But he wasn't a first round pick. He wasn't a first round pick.
He's a criminal. I told you I won't take the case. I wouldn't have taken the case.
The kid DK Metcalf isn't a first round pick.
No.
Look at these skilled
Should have
players. Look at these skilled players, Christo, from around the league. Devontae Adams, second round pick. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, Chris, look at these drafts, right? 2016, we'll start with. They didn't have a first round pick. They got a second round pick. Number 60 overall, Cyrus Jones, out of football.
Right.
Okay.
And give the position. Give the position.
Okay,
too.
cornerback.
Yep.
Their other second round pick that year is the only guy they've done that was a good pick. It's Tooney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your third round.
Has Tooney made a Pro Bowl?
No.
But he is that caliber.
But he is that caliber. He hasn't made one, but he's that caliber.
Yeah.
Your third round pick is quarterback Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah. Well, a couple of good years for another team.
Chris, now I'm not even going to get into the rest of I'm only going to go first 2-3 rounds. I can't get into all of these guys they took because none of them are on the roster. Although I will say this, one guy, 2016, 6th round pick, Eldon Roberts. All right. 2017.
That guy's that guy will be a polarizing figure to you till they're kicking dirt over you.
Although, Chris, in that draft, I do got to say this: that draft is deceiving because the 4th round they take Malcolm Mitchell, who we both thought had a lot of potential, but he had injuries. He would have been a first round. He would have been a first or second round pick, Chris, if he didn't have the bat. He was injured in college. He made comes to the NFL. It's the same thing.
He made a lot of big catches for them in the playoffs, though.
He did. Quickly, let me go through this quickly just so we can talk about
Go
it.
ahead.
2017, Derek Rivers, 3rd round. We didn't have a first or second round pick, right? The 3rd round, Antonio Garcia. Was he the guy that got sick?
He was the defensive. He was the offensive tackle. Wasn't
Offensive tackle, but what happened?
he? Yeah,
to
he
him?
got sick.
Okay.
He got sick, and then he just
Okay. Okay. All right. 4th
By the way,
round-
Derek Rivers had no tackles.
No.
tonight.
4th round, they took Dietrich Wise in that draft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2018. Here's your favorite draft. 1st round, Isaiah Wynn. 1st round, Sonny Michel. Wait a minute now, Chris. 2nd round, 56th pick of the draft, cornerback Duke Dawson. I'll repeat.
He's not on the team.
56th pick in the draft, Duke Dawson, cornerback. Chris, you go back to 2016.
So irritating.
Chris, go back to 2016. Number 60 pick cornerback, Cyrus Jones. You can't blow.
Drop the punt in the Denver game.
But Chris, you can't blow picks like that.
Drop the punt in the Denver game.
Chris,
Remember
I
in the
understand
playoff
that.
game.
Then 2018, Chris, they don't get another pick until the 5th round, and they take Bentley. And then the rest of that draft is
Who still hasn't showed yet.
No, the rest of that draft, nobody makes the team. I'm sorry. In the 7th round, they take Ryan Izzo in that draft.
Which
Okay. 2019, another one of your favorite drafts. 1st round pick, N'Keal Harry. 32 overall. 2nd round pick, who I think he's a bust. 45th pick in the draft, Chris. Cornerback, Joanne Williams. You've taken 3 corners, Chris. Number 45, number 56, and number 60. And I think all 3 of them are going to be bust. Because I think Williams is a bust.
And the only skilled guy you took on the offensive side of the ball, okay, was your friend from the Pac-12.
Okay, Chris. Now Joanne Williams, and then you took Winovich in the 3rd round, who we think has potential, but hasn't made he hasn't gone over the top yet. Hasn't made that leap. We think he can make the leap, but he still hasn't made the leap yet, Chris. Right? And then they take Damian Harris, right, in the 3rd round of that draft. So there's and Stidham obviously was a 4th round pick. You know what gets me too, Chris? You know how many teams lately really pick up guys between the 4th and 7th rounds? We don't do that. It seems lately after the 3rd round.
That used to be their
Yep.
Ding.
Chris, if I went into the back half of all these drafts, none of the guys are on the roster. And you're right, that used to be their thing. Now their thing is they get undrafted free agents, and the undrafted free agents make the team. The guys that get drafted rounds 4 through 7, they're nothing.
So tell the people. So what are you getting to? Where are you going? Where are you getting to with this?
What I'm getting to is we have one of the worst player personnel departments in the entire NFL right now. And I'm going to say it, Chris, that bluntly, because we have no skilled players on this team. Look at the drafts. You're not even taking skilled players, Chris. There's no tight ends in these drafts. There's no wide receivers. There's nobody. Where are the skilled players? There's none.
No athletes.
And I get Belichick's going to say, because we picked up veterans for Brady, because we were trying to win Super Bowls. That's a crock. That's an absolute crock, because you can do both. As a player personnel person, he gets an F. An F.
So do you have do you have the people we could have had? Listen, so okay. So I guess when I hear that, okay.
Chris, there's one other thing I want to say before we switch. The Patriots, their draft, the way they run their room, Chris, and I researched this today. The Patriots extensively sift through eligible players until their draft board consists of 75 names. That prospect menu is significantly smaller than most other organizations whose general managers prefer a big board of 125 to 150 players. New England weeds out players who aren't deemed good fits and focus on bringing in guys who possess the intelligence, versatility, and playing ability that Belichick covers in each position. Well, guess what? Whatever he's covering, he's not finding it in the draft. So this whole philosophy has to be blown up, Chris. Blown up.
It's now becoming outdated. Yeah, you're right, Mark. This used to be the team that would say, we're trading the second round pick. We're going to trade our first round pick, and we're going to get more picks in the third, fourth, fifth round. And that's how we're going to build our team.
They don't do it anymore.
Character guys. So now they're worried about guys that fit their mold, fit the system, fit all that. So when I hear something like that, and now Megan, we'll answer your question now. Okay. So she asked, why do you think they're doing so bad? Did Brady really carry the team? So to me, to answer that question, after hearing that, I would say no. In a sense, he did. In a sense, you would say, as long as you had number 12, you could put different guys in and out around him and so on, and he's going to elevate the play. He's going to make them better. So yes, he elevated a lot of the guys around them. But and he did that, and that's number 12, and he's the best that ever walked. He is the best that ever did. He's probably the best football player that ever played, in my opinion. So fine. But when you ask the question, if you're asking the question, is Brady leaving New England the reason why they're in the situation they're in this year? No, just because of everything Mark just said. They're in the situation they're in now because of two things. One, the philosophy is outdated. Okay. Clearly has to be. And two, their evaluation of talent is piss poor. Okay. I mean, that's it. That's the reason you're in. So Belichick can come out and he can say all this nonsense he wants about the cap and because the cap's a nonsense. Mark, the cap's a fictitious thing to me. I don't buy the cap. Okay. You can get around the cap. You can do things to get around the cap.
Chris, listen,
that's fictitious to me.
Listen,
it's the fact that Brady's gone. It's the fact that you couldn't bring guys in to take his place.
Yeah. Chris, all these teams like Kansas City,
we got to get the break.
All these teams, Chris, like Kansas City, they just keep bringing in guys. How is it that they're getting around the cap and you can't?
Because they're bringing in athletes, Mark. They're bringing in talent. They're bringing in measurables. That's the difference.
Okay? Yeah, right, Chris. Yeah, right.
They're bringing in measurables. They're bringing guys in that can run, that can catch, that fly around the ball. They're bringing in athletic ability. They're not looking at versatility. They're not looking at guys to say, this guy can play in 3 different spots. You know, we can use him inside, outside. We can use him in the slot. We can use him at the X. We can use him as the Y. We can use him as a Z. We can use him in all over the offensive side of the ball. We can use this guy. That's who Belichick wants to take.
He does, Chris, and I'm going to say something. Getting back to Megan, who wrote in, you're right. We did do that, and most of the time, those players are average to mediocre players, but they can play 5 positions. And Tom Brady covered for them, and that's why it looked like Belichick knew what he was doing, because Brady covered for those guys that jumped from position to position who were just average guys. Well, guess what? Now those average guys aren't good enough because you don't have number 12 there anymore.
Right. So in the meantime, teams like who are picking higher, I get it, but teams like Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, okay, Tennessee with Brown, these teams are fitting a position, fitting a spot. They're not looking for that versatility. They're not bringing a guy in. They bring a guy in that can run a crossing route. That's his job. Your job is speed. Your job is to get over the top of that defense.
Chris,
that's your job. We don't need you to catch back shoulder throws.
Chris,
Hill. We don't need Hill to do that, Hartman to do that. We don't need those guys to do that.
Chris, I go back to it, and I always go back to it, and I don't forget what he said. And granted, I'm going to date myself. I go back to when Jimmy Johnson took over the Dallas Cowboys. And he always said it. And they said, Jimmy, how are you building this team? He said, how am I building this team? He said, speed. He said, I'll have the fastest team in the NFL and I'll win. He said, you can't teach speed. And that's what Jimmy Johnson always said. He did it when he was in Miami and Florida. He said, you can't teach speed. He said, and I want speed. The first thing he did was he got rid of Herschel Walker and loaded up with draft picks. And he took speed. He had speed all over the field.
On the other side, Mark, we're going to come back. We'll talk about, we'll finish this up and, this disingenuous crap that Belichick spewed out instead of giving the reality of what really took place. And Mark spelled it out for everybody tonight. That's the reason why we're in the position we're in. It wouldn't have mattered if Brady came or left or stayed or didn't stay. It wouldn't have made.
Listen, Brady saw the writing on the writing on the wall. That's why he was so frustrated last year, Chris, because he looked around and said, my God, there's nobody on this roster.
Right. Well, it wouldn't have mattered if Lamar Jackson was on the roster right now. It wouldn't have made a difference. And it wouldn't have mattered if DK Metcalf was on the roster. It wouldn't have mattered if Brady was here or not. It wouldn't have made a difference if Andrews was on this roster, if Claypool was on this roster, if Brown was on this roster. It wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have made a difference if they traded up and got, some of these guys, a tight end or the kid from Dayton that you liked last year. See, it wouldn't have made a difference.
He caught a touchdown, Troutman, yesterday.
It wouldn't have made a difference if Brady had decided to go or if Belichick told him to go. The bodies, the pieces would have been in place to move to the next step. And the fact that, and the sole reason for that not happening is Bill Belichick and his poor evaluation of talent. On the other side, we want to talk about, so now, given the situation that they're in, is there a path now? Is there a path to making the playoffs, to salvaging something? Because where are we now, Mark?
Chris, can I ask you a question?
The people, well, we got to get the break, but the people out there right now want to know this. And the big question about it is this.
What's in your water bottle? Because you're talking about the playoffs. What's in that water bottle?
But Mark, people want to understand, what are we shooting for here? What is New England doing? What are they trying to get to? Are we trying to get to a pick? Are we trying to get to the playoffs? Are we trying to salvage the season? What the hell does the rest of the second half of this season supposed to look at? And we're going to get into that on the other side. More Pats Nation after this.
How do I get to the point where I understand my passion enough to communicate it outward and dial myself in so that I can craft my own sauce? But you don't have anyone that's going to give you the right advice. Now you do. We've been discussing where we live and what areas do we want to always talk about. And really, it's startup, it's finance, and drive. We are Special Sauce Podcast.
Back in with more Pats Nation. Mark, on the front side of that, we went through the deficiencies and why it is. So now it begs the question, and a lot that is on a lot of people's minds right now out there is what, because there's a lot of Patriots fans, Mark, right now that are sitting back. I'm one of them too, that's saying to themselves, what am I supposed to make of this season now? Because and not only this season, but what is it going to mean moving forward? Because tonight, I was torn tonight. I'm sitting there saying, damn it, do we win this game tonight? Do we want to win this game? I can't root for a loss. I can't root for this team to lose. Do we want to win this game tonight? Because then if we win this game, you know, we pretty much say bye to Trevor Lawrence, you know, because you're going to have to be in the top spot to get that or close to it to trade up into it and hope it's a team that wants to deal with you, which, by the way, Belichick has made no friends around the league. There's no way these teams are going to trade with us, okay, to put us into that number one spot. So, or do we say, hey, you know what? No, we want to win as many games as we can. We want to try to make the playoffs. So what direction should this team be going right now?
Chris, I'm going to say something to you. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Jimmy
Other than the
Garoppolo-
fact that we're going to get
Annihilated.
absolutely annihilated next week when we start to talk about Baltimore in a second, too.
Chris, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a cap casualty.
Yeah.
They ain't bringing him back at that number because he's got a ton of upfront money due again next year, guaranteed money. They're going to release him, and they're going to get away from that money. They're going to go in another direction, I think. And you mark my words, if he's released, he will be a Patriot within 48 hours.
Well, that's fantastic and great.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying in regards to the Trevor Lawrence, I don't think Belichick cares about that, because if Garoppolo becomes available, he will be the quarterback.
Well, that's his guy. That's always been his guy.
Yep. Within 48 hours, he will be the quarterback of the New England Patriots. But then you're still going to build around them. But anyways, let's get back.
That's always been. Well, Mark, that's on the table, because look, if and that's fine. I have no problem with them bringing Garoppolo back in. Aside of the fact that he can't stay on the damn field.
He can't. Okay. And I think that's part of the reason why San Francisco is going to get rid of him with that contract. They're going to get out of that contract. He can't stay on the field.
And that's fine. But don't you still have to draft a quarterback too?
No, you do. You do. Because you don't know if Garoppolo can't stay on the field for you. You're right. You need a quarterback. You do.
How much longer does he have anyway?
Yeah.
You know.
So Chris, do you think, looking at this schedule, that we can say, could we run the table and go 10-6?
Well, look.
You lose next week. Say you got 6 losses. Can you roll the table and go 10-6? Because 10-6 probably gets you in the playoffs.
So if you're a team, if you're New England and you're sitting there saying, okay, we're going to press and we're going to try to make the playoffs, 7 teams get in. And look, Mark, I told you this before. Unless you're the top team, okay, which is probably going to be Pittsburgh or Kansas City.
That's going to be one of those two.
Unless you're the top team, that's the only team that's getting the home field anyway at this point. So at this point,
well, no, you're getting home field, but you're not getting the bye.
That's what I meant. The bye. Right. Yeah. So that's the only team that's getting the bye. After that, it
doesn't matter.
2 through 7. Does it really make a difference with COVID now?
No,
because you can't put people in the stands, and even if you can't put people in the stands, you're limited to say 20 grand, right? Yeah. Putting them in there, and so you got 20,000 people in the place. That doesn't really bother anybody too much. So it's pretty much just a plane ride, you know, to get to the field. So I mean, I don't think it makes much difference where you fall. So now, what's their path now? Okay. So what I did is I have here the standings, all right, in the AFC. We're not going to get into the NFC. We don't have time for that. But the AFC. So you got Pittsburgh on top at 8-0, Kansas City 8-1, Buffalo 7-2, and Tennessee is sitting over there at 6-2. So let's say bye to those 4 teams, because we're not touching this division. I mean, Buffalo would have to have a serious collapse. And then you got Miami to deal with too.
We can't win the division. Division's out.
So you figure they're not going to win division. So now you're dealing with spots 5, 6, and 7. So currently the Ravens are in. The Ravens are 6-2. The Raiders are 5-3, and the Dolphins are 5-3. And then Cleveland is 5-3 at 8, and the 9th spot is the Colts at 5-3, and then you have the Broncos at 3-5. New England's at 3-5. Cincinnati is 2-5 after that. Okay. So the teams that you're really competing with, forget Baltimore. Baltimore's getting in. Okay. I mean, Baltimore's going to secure that. They're going to secure that number 5 spot. So we're giving that to them. Okay.
So you're playing for 2
spots. By the way, well, we're going to talk about, we'll preview next.
So you're playing for 2 spots,
which we play Baltimore next week. 8:20 Eastern time, Sunday night, another night game. So you're dealing with the Raiders, who you have the tiebreaker on. You're dealing with the Dolphins, who currently you have the tiebreaker on at the moment. You have to play them again. And the Cleveland Browns, who lost Mayfield and Beckham. And is Mayfield out? Didn't Mayfield get hurt over there too? We'll check that.
I'm not sure about that. But Beckham's out.
Maybe he just went out of the game but came back. I don't know. But I thought Mayfield had gotten hurt.
Okay.
You know, which actually
could be Chris.
Which actually, you know, I think Mayfield's the reason they won't get in because he makes too many mistakes. So when you look at this situation and you think about, okay, we already played the Raiders, Dolphins we got to play again, Cleveland we don't play, and then you have the Colts, who, in my opinion, they're 5-3, but that's a team that can lose some games. I mean, you know, especially with Phillip Rivers and his inability to move around. So now when you look at that and you look at us and you say, what is our chance then at 3-5 to be able to gain one of those three spots?
Okay, so Chris, so you figure next week, I'm going to go on record and say we're going to lose next week. So that
I mean, I don't see any possible way. Okay, it looks like Mayfield's questionable right now with an injury.
Okay. So Chris, so next week,
and thank you to Joe. Joe got that information.
Chris, so next week gives you 6 losses.
Right. Yeah, you got 6 losses, and the other teams have 3, depending on what.
You have to run the table, right? You got to go. What's the least you could be? 10-6, probably.
Well, let's look at their schedule. Okay, so let's look. I mean, what gets you in? I mean, these teams have 3 losses right now. It's conceivable.
I'm saying 10-6, probably you got to go to get in, right?
I would say,
maybe
but that
9
only
and 7, maybe
that
9
only,
and 7, but
that means you got to run the table. I think 9 and 7. I think 9 and 7 would get you in, just because I think Cleveland's going to lose several more games.
All right.
I think Indianapolis will lose more. I think, you know, the Dolphins again. You sold on the Dolphins, Mark, with Tua over there. Which, by the way, if we don't get a quarterback in this, if we don't get a franchise quarterback soon, okay, think about what the division has now. You know, I know I'm off topic just a tad, but if we don't get a franchise quarterback, you have Buffalo that has this Allen over there who's doing what he's, you know, I mean, they're 6-2.
He's doing what he's supposed to do.
You got Tua now that's won 2 games now in Miami, so he's going to be a franchise guy. And those buffoons we played tonight
are going to get one.
They're probably going to get one.
Even if Lawrence decides I'm not going to play for the Jets, I'm going to stay in college one more year, they'll get the kid Fields from Ohio State. So they're going to get somebody. They're going to draft somebody with the first pick of the draft. It's going to be a quarterback.
So the question becomes, how many more losses do these teams, you know, how many more losses can we count on for these teams now?
Okay, so Chris, so next week's a loss, let's say. So that's 6. What's the rest of the schedule look like quickly?
Well, I'm trying to bring it up. So bear with me, okay? But because I know they break down the Houston. So when they get Baltimore, you figure that's a loss, right? And then you come back with Houston, okay? After that.
Okay, so say we beat Houston.
So, I mean,
even though Houston, I think, has enough offense that could give us trouble because we don't score. But anyways, who do they play after Houston?
So here it is. Okay. So you figure you pencil in a loss to Baltimore, which, by the way, you know, Baltimore's going to beat New England, but I'm not sure what Jackson. You know, we'll break them down in a second. Then you go to Houston, who I think you don't like them. You don't like the Patriots' chances against Houston. I think they have a chance to beat that team.
Okay, so okay. Who else do we got?
Now Arizona comes to town.
They're going to get beat.
Now, see, this is the thing, okay? They're playing them on November 29th. The only thing I would say about how Arizona travels across the country, they don't travel well, and they don't travel well, and they don't play well in weather. So if there's any type of weather in New England, I think I give New England a good chance in that.
All right,
game.
that's fair. That's fair.
Now you go on the road for the big road trip. So you play the Sunday game against the Chargers, and then you come back against the Rams. And then you got the AFC East to follow. You come back home against Miami, then you go to Buffalo, and then you're home against the Jets. So, out of these games, what say you as far as the wins losses? What's their path? What's their
Chris,
path to getting it?
Christian, when you look at that schedule, I think the best they could go, and this might be wishful thinking, I think they could go 8-8. That's the best they could go.
Okay, and so the 8 wins then, because right now they're sitting at 3. So you feel like they'll beat who? Houston? No? Yes? No?
Houston, they could beat Houston.
Okay, Arizona?
Arizona, I'm going to go with your philosophy. Arizona don't travel well. So that gives you now, what does that give you? 5? Okay.
Now you have San Diego, whatever, the Chargers and the Rams.
6, 7.
You think they'll beat both of those teams?
No, I don't. But I'm saying the ceiling would be 8 wins. I don't think they're going to get 8 wins.
Okay, so you got 2 losses there then for those 2 back to back?
My prediction for the New England Patriots, how many wins they got right now? 3?
3.
My prediction is they go 5-11. That's my prediction. 5-11 on the season.
Who are the 2 wins then?
The 2 wins are going to be the New York Jets. And I will say that they beat the Houston Texans. I don't think they're going to beat Arizona.
So you think they'll lose to Miami?
Yes.
They'll lose to the Buffalo?
Yes.
They'll lose to the Rams?
Yes.
Chargers?
Loss.
Cardinals?
Loss.
Ravens?
Loss.
Okay. So
that's my prediction. 5-11, Chris. Listen, and what was I talking preseason before the season? The week before the season started, 12-4, 11-5. Yeah. That's a big switch. I'm going to 5-11 now. So everybody, I was wrong. Listen, I was wrong.
That's
I was
a complete
way off
about
base.
face.
A complete about face. I admit when I'm wrong. I was totally wrong about this team. But what do you think, Chris? What do you say? What do you think they can go? I'm saying 5-11.
I look at this team and
you already said you think they can beat Arizona. So how many wins do you think they can
could beat Arizona. I think they can beat. They're gonna wipe the field with Baltimore. No, they're gonna lose to Baltimore. I think they could beat Houston. I think they could beat Arizona. I think that'll be their 4th and 5th win. Okay, I think they'll split that series in LA, and they're gonna beat one of those 2 teams. Okay,
and what about Miami and Buffalo?
Now, I think they'll beat the Jets. Hold on, I'm gonna get back to them in a second.
Okay, that's I get that.
So where am I now?
Are you at 7?
It's too late, Mark. I can't do math. Let's see.
No, that's 7. You got them winning 4 more games. That's 7.
7. That's 7. Okay. To make the playoffs, they're going to have to beat both Miami and Buffalo. They almost beat Buffalo, Mark.
They did.
They almost beat Buffalo, and they get them in their house. Miami, yes, it's always been a house of horrors, but let's just real quick, and then we got to break down the Baltimore game, and then get the break.
It's time for night pretty soon.
It is time for night. But real quick, team like Indianapolis, okay? I think Cleveland's going to be out of it. I think they'll Cleveland. The division's too hard. The division's too difficult, and also with the Raiders, same thing. I think the Raiders, it's too difficult. So now you're dealing with Baltimore. And you got 2 more spots. So you got Miami, Indianapolis. Okay, we know what Miami's dealing with. But Indianapolis, you got to play the Titans, the Packers, the Titans. Okay?
That's 3 losses.
Yeah, it is 3 losses.
Yep.
Okay? That's 3 losses right there, which makes them, that's 6 losses for them.
Yep.
So far.
Yeah.
Then you got the Raiders,
yep,
Texans twice, and at the Steelers. And then Jaguars. So they're going to lose 7 games.
How many wins do they have? How many wins do they have right now?
Right now they have 5.
Well, that's the only issue, Chris. They got to play Jacksonville twice, you said?
No, they play Jacksonville once. They play the Steelers.
Yeah.
They play Texans twice.
Okay, so they probably will end up with 8 wins at least.
Okay, so if they win 8 games, that's one of the teams that's vying for that spot.
Yeah.
There's 3 spots left.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2 spots left.
Yeah.
So, look, New England's got an outside chance. I'm not saying it's an easy path. Okay, I'm not saying it's an easy path, but it's a path nonetheless. That's been a real popular saying over the last week. Is there a path? Is there a path to win? Okay. There's a path for New England to win. So next week, Mark, okay, breaking down. So for you people out there, what do we do? So the bottom line is, what are we supposed to do with this team? We're supposed to root for them to win, lose, what? Well, I think we said bye to the number 1 pick tonight. Okay?
Yeah, we did.
I don't think the Jets are going to come back in here and beat us in the last week of the season. So I think we're not going to be in the top spot, and I don't think anybody's going to trade it to us. So to me, at this point, push for the playoffs now. Just do it, especially if you think you're going to want to go get Garoppolo in a trade or somebody like that. Then push for the playoffs and go get this guy Mertz from Wisconsin, right? Okay. Next week, the Patriots take on the Baltimore Ravens. It's an 8:20 kickoff, Sunday Night Football. Another late night. Hopefully, we're gonna have to pump Mark full of Dunkin' Donuts coffee, I think, right? Before that situation happens. But breaking that game down, and Mark, you already talked about it. Listen. The Patriots have shown no ability to stop the run, and that's all they do.
Next week, Chris, is going to be real ugly.
It's going to be a bloodbath
because you're not going to stop the run game. They got 2 running backs. They got the rookie Dobbins, and they got the kid Ingram, and then you got Jackson. You got 3 guys. I'm telling you, Chris. I've been saying it for 3 weeks. I will be shocked if Baltimore does not rush for over 300 yards next week.
Yeah. I see no ability for them to be able to stop the run, and therefore no ability to stop that team. If it were reversed, if it was another situation where they needed Jackson to throw the ball to win, fine.
That's different.
I give New England a chance.
I would give New England a chance. Absolutely.
But you're going to bring Phillips down in that box and expect them to stop that run with Ingram and company? Never going to happen.
Chris, they're going to get pushed all over the field.
All over the field. So I think the both of us, I think there's a consensus between the two of us that I think New England has no chance of winning that game.
No, I don't give them a chance. I don't give them any chance next week.
8:20 kickoff. We'll be on 30 minutes following that game, as usual, with all your comments post game coverage on hopefully what's not a bloodbath, and Steve types in, and I just want to get to this before we get the break and come back with our final thoughts. But you guys have spent the last 2 weeks saying the Pats are so bad they likely won't win another game all year. Now they're going to get the last wild card. Come on, man. Hey, look, Steve. Listen, right now, we said it flat out, and we appreciate the chat in. We appreciate that. But, hey, come on, man. Listen, right now we're confused. This is a confusing direction to take on this team. And I said it for the beginning of the show, that we're not sure what to do, what to think right now. And I don't think Patriots fans are sure what to think. Do we think they can make a push, or do we think we're going to lose all the games? Listen, I'm saying there's a path to win. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't know if it's likely to happen. Okay.
Steve,
have they shown the ability to beat Buffalo and Miami? And no, of course not. They couldn't beat Buffalo. They fumbled the ball, but they were going in to beat them. Okay. Miami, they did beat already. So they showed the ability to beat Miami. That's on their schedule. They've beaten the Jets once already, Steve. So do you think they could beat the Jets again? That's 3. That's 3 teams. I don't know what Chargers seem to find a way to lose every game they play at the end. So again, I think the Patriots are a very bad football team right now. I think they're devoid of talent. I said that last week. I said it this week, and I'll continue to say it. They are not a talented group of skill players. They don't have it, but they have a good offensive line. They have shown the ability to run the ball. Okay. I just don't know what to make of this team. But would you watch what you see tonight? Okay. They put 30 points on the board. That's the worst team in football, right, Mark? The Jets?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do they lose the rest of their games then? Is this the point? Do they lose them all? Because Mark's got them losing them all. So it isn't you guys. No. Steve, it isn't you guys saying this. It's me. It's me.
Steve,
Mark's flat out saying. Mark's flat out saying he's got them winning 5 games right now, which is only 2 more. I would think they could beat the Jets again.
Yeah.
And maybe get a sneaker win in one of these teams. Maybe Arizona or somebody like that. But again,
listen, Steve, I absolutely don't think there's a path. Chris is thinking there could be a path. And listen, I hope he's right, but I'm absolutely not saying they're a wild card team. I'm telling you, my prediction is they go 5-11.
All I'm saying is you could see it happening, is all I'm saying. Yeah. You could see a possibility that it could happen because, again, they've shown flashes where they could beat these teams. Look, in Seattle, they play away of winning that game. Denver, same situation. Buffalo, same situation.
Chris, can I ask you a question before we go to break?
So I don't know what to make of them.
Chris, can I ask you a question before we go to break? Those three things you just mentioned.
Yeah.
If Tom Brady's on this team, are we 5-3, 6-2 right now?
I'd like to believe that. Yeah.
Okay.
I would think so.
I just gotta throw that out
listen,
there.
history shows that that's the case. History shows that Brady won those games and Newton has not won them now. So
Yep. Okay.
on the other side, we'll give our final thoughts. More Pats Nation after this.
It's that time again for a timeout from Pat's Nation for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket, or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group. Now back to Pat's Nation.
Back in with more Pats Nation, Corso and Catone. And Steve writes in again, says the Belichick will will this team to wild cards. So see, Mark, Steve, too. Look, you're just as confused as we are right now. I think the whole country, the whole football world is trying to understand what the hell is going on with the New England Patriots right now, because nobody is used to seeing this situation with them. So yeah, we're trying to make sense of it all and trying to figure it out. Mark,
Steve, Chris, listen. Nobody is more of a diehard Patriot fan than me. Please, this team is not making the playoffs. Listen, there's no possible way that this team's not making the playoffs, Chris. They're a bad football team. They're a bad, listen, repeat after me. They're a bad football team. They're a bad football team.
they're not the best that I've seen.
Okay, thank you, Chris. All right. Excuse me. You made a comment in the first half of that game. You said, I haven't seen them, forget the 20 years Brady was here. I haven't seen them play this bad since the early 90s.
Don't tell everybody all of my secrets. Yeah, it's hard to watch right now. It's difficult to watch. It's difficult to see what's become of them and the way it happened. If I could just if I could easily say, hey, it was Brady, just the fact that they got rid of, if Brady's here, then they're a much different team. I can't say that. And I can't say that because of exactly the points that you made, Mark. Player personnel, drafts, things like that. There's just no talent on this team. That's the problem.
I said I didn't even get into the back end of those drafts. I only went through the first 2 or 3 rounds.
No.
At some point, maybe during the off season, we'll really break the drafts down before we do our draft show, because we will have a draft show this year for the first time. But it's just the lack of talent on this team is ridiculous, and that comes from drafts, Chris. That's coming from drafts.
Well, I'll tell you what, Steve and company and everyone else. I'll tell you this: you're going to be able to see over the next couple of weeks whether or not Belichick has lost this team by some of the things he said. That's going to be a very interesting thing to tune into. But Mark, final thoughts on this one.
A win's a win, right? It was ugly at times. It was a win. A win's a win. I still don't think we're a very good football team, because I think we played the worst team in the NFL today. And we got a gift from Joe Flacco to pull this game out, to come back and tie it and then win in overtime. Not overtime, I'm sorry, with a field goal in the last 10 seconds. I don't know. It's a win, right? It's a win. You played the worst team in football. It's a win, and you struggled getting it. So take what you want from that.
The way I see this, and honestly, the way I look at this whole situation and looking at this game today is, if the Patriots, and this is the truth for everybody that's listening and typing in and one, if the New England Patriots can't figure out a way to stop the run, okay, if they can't figure out a way to stop the run,
they're not going to. They haven't stopped it all year. They're not stopping the run.
Okay, then I'm saying this: if they can't, they really didn't figure out a way to stop it tonight. Okay, the Jets were the Jets, and their play calling wasn't very good, and they went away from things that were working for them that they should have stayed with tonight. especially running to that left side. I don't care who the left tackle was. Okay, they could hit the edge when they wanted to, and they just stopped doing it for some reason. If the Patriots can't figure out a way to fix their defense, and I'm not talking about the offense right now. I know how much talent, how talentless they are on that side of the ball. Yet they still put up 30 points. Last week they put up 24, and had the ability almost put up 28 or whatever it was, or 21, and there was 20, would have been 28 to win it. They're still figuring out, finding ways to actually put points on the board. But if they can't figure out how to stop teams, get them off the field, and not only get them off the field, stop the long drives, the 6, the 7, the 8-minute drives, which is indicative of a team that can run the ball against you. If they can't figure out a way, that Steve, they will not win another game. You're right. They won't. They won't do it. And that's my takeaway from tonight. The Jets are the worst team in football. The schedule, the record dictates that they're the worst team in football. And New England matched them tonight in many, many ways. It's just the Jets were the Jets and gave the game away. I agree with Mark. Mark, some people to thank tonight in this late hour. Want to thank the people over at Special Sauce Podcast, as always. Good people over there. Log on, read some of their literature. I've been reading up on it. It's pretty enlightening stuff. People over at Jag Media Productions. Want to thank the people at Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal law firm. Allow us to be your voice. Studio 42 Graphic Design, and Mountain View Home Watch and Security, Scottsdale's leading private home security firm. We also want to thank Joe Guarneri, our longtime producer and director. Joe, thanks for the stats and all the information and making this whole crazy show go in this late hour. So we appreciate that. And we appreciate everybody out there that's listening in, chatting in, tune in. This week, Joe will have it up on the as a podcast. You can listen to the show again. Subscribe on YouTube so we can chat with you. We can talk with you. We can talk with you next week. And don't forget, next week the Patriots take on the host, the Baltimore Ravens, on Sunday Night Football at 8:20 kickoff Eastern Time. We will be on, as always, 30 minutes following the show to break down the game. All your reaction to it, our reaction to it. In the bloodbath Mark thinks it's going to be. So for Mark Catone, I'm Chris Corso. Patriots win this game today, 30-27. Have a great week. So long, everyone.